Good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm Malcolm King, interim president and a grateful alum of Cooper Union from the class of 1997. Welcome to our Cooper Union Alumni Association's 2025 Founders Day Awards ceremony, or presentation. Thank you all for being here. I see a lot of you that are either friends or that look familiar. For those of you who may be unaware, on this year, this is actually being held on Peter Cooper's birthday. So 234 years ago, on February 12th, Peter Cooper was born in New York City. Last week, we commemorated our founder with our annual wreath-laying ceremony at the Peter Cooper Monument. And I recited a passage. It's maybe my favorite passage that really encapsulates the vision and the purpose of the Cooper Union. And it's from his 1859 letter to the trustees, and it reads, "My design is to establish this institution in the hope that unnumbered youth will here receive the inspiration of truth in all its native power and beauty, and find in it a source of perpetual pleasure to spread its transforming influence throughout the world. Believing in and hoping for such a result, I desire to make this institution contribute in every way to aid the efforts of youth, to acquire useful knowledge, and to find and fill that place in the community where their capacity and talents can be usefully employed with the greatest possible advantage to themselves and the community in which they live." Each year, the CUAA Awards pays tribute to alumni of the Cooper Union who embody those principles in various ways. This evening, we recognize 6 distinguished alumni of the Cooper Union for their achievements in architecture, art, engineering, and public service. Congratulations to each of tonight's honorees. We have Dr. Nina Marie Tandon, electrical engineering class of 2001, honoree recipient of the Gano Dunn Award. Sidney Myers, art, class of 1953, the Augustus Saint-Gaudens Award. John Chunhan Lin, architecture 2002, the John Q. Hejduk Award. Michael C. Wallace, Civil Engineering 1990, and Masters of Civil Engineering 1991, the Peter Cooper Public Service Award. Doug Sharrott, Electrical Engineering class of 1983, Alumnus of the Year. And Shiori Sasaki, Architecture 2014, Young Alumnus of the Year. And to everyone else here who are not among the honorees, at least for this year, I assure you, you're special also. Each of you embody the principles of applying knowledge and skills to have an impact on society in your own ways. Among the ways you contribute to society is supporting and sustaining this very institution and its community. Through advice and mentorship, you help inspire and direct students' journeys. And through giving, you help provide the means for Cooper to develop future generations of people just like us. And I do think that's a good thing. Case in point, last year, as part of the Cooper Together celebrations, we launched a new fundraising initiative. Oops, I'm sorry, did I?
No.
Oh, apologies. I'm getting over. All right, I will stay away from that. All right. But we launched a new initiative, the Cooper Together Scholarship. Of course, every student who comes to Cooper has a 50% tuition scholarship. Now, to honor the legacy of our founders' philanthropy, we asked alumni to change a student's life by providing funding that covers the remaining half of the tuition over the course of their 4 or 5 year academic stay here. Our inaugural Cooper Together Scholarship recipient is with us tonight, along with her family. Congratulations to Neola Lowe. Neola is a first-year student in mechanical engineering starting on her Cooper journey, boosted by the generosity of the alumni community. So thank you to Neola and her family for making it tonight. I'd also like to, of course, thank all of you who gave in support of Neola's scholarship. And if you're interested in making a gift to this year's Cooper Together Scholarship, you can find, there should be a QR code inside your program, or of course ask me or one of our alumni affairs and development staff. Now, in addition to these types, am I taking too long? I'm sorry. I'll try to speed it up. Okay. So your support also, of course, helps us along on our path back to full tuition scholarships for all students. And we were already ahead of plan at the halfway mark, and at the beginning of this academic year, we announced that all seniors would have full tuition scholarships for the next 4 years, made possible by substantial commitments by 3 alumni donors. We're incredibly grateful for their support, but we're also excited to see that they're inspiring others as well. In fact, a Cooper couple that hadn't been engaged for more than 10 years gave a $1 million gift because of the momentum that they've seen in Cooper's return to full tuition scholarships. So I hope that's an inspiration to the rest of us here as well. We're on our way. And really, this ability to cover this 100% tuition for the seniors for 4 years is the bridge to actually restoring full tuition in the fall, for the incoming class, fall 2029. And regardless, right now, this year, and I did verify with our VP of Finance, we are covering, on average, 85% of tuition. So still doing quite well for the students. And we have more than 50% of students who do attend with full tuition scholarships. Now, I will just reiterate, because we all read the news, as it stands, our current situation with the Chrysler Building does not impact our plan. As I mentioned, we were ahead of plan. We have reserves, so we're still on track. And so far, we don't see any jeopardy to that. We have a lot of interest in being partners in the Chrysler Building, a truly iconic asset. So we are still on our way. We were built to weather the storm. So thank you for all of your giving. You continually raise the bar for the next generation, right, for the students who are here. They appreciate your presence. They appreciate your support. Of course, I also do want to thank the CUAA at large for making this event possible, especially grateful to Ron Vogel, our president of the CUAA, and to all of you who volunteered your time to serve on various awards committees and who organized tonight's celebration. And of course, thank you to our Cooper staff members as well. Now, it's my pleasure to, thank you to Ron, CUAA, and our team. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Kelly Okuzio-Zak, who will be our MC for this evening. Kelly is a 1990 graduate of the School of Art who has served as Vice President of Alumni Activities for CUAA since 2015. She previously served on the Events Committee, first as a member and then co-chair, and has been responsible for organizing some of the most memorable CUAA events, from holiday parties to CUAA at McSorley's and to the annual Cooper Union Student Harvest Feast. Kelly began her career as an art and design professional in the special events field. She's currently a special education teacher in the Hewlett-Woodmere School District in Long Island. In 2023, Kelly was the recipient of the CUAA Alumna of the Year Award, and of course, very deserving. So thank you, Kelly, and congratulations again to tonight's honorees. We are indeed Cooper together and proud to be here and grateful for everything that the institution has done and grateful for everything that the community does to support each other.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is my great pleasure that I welcome you to the 2025 Founders Day Awards ceremony. The Founders Day Professional Awards are named for 4 individuals whose lifetime achievements demonstrate more than simple excellence in their field. They share a common thread, the humanitarian values that they embraced and a desire to elevate the spirit and the human condition. They shared Peter Cooper's vision, a vision that has influenced generations of students to continue on a path of excellence that is sparked by curiosity and honed with commitment and dedication. The Gano Dunn Award is given for the achievement in engineering, industry, science, or finance. Gano Dunn believed that engineering is a social art, and for engineers to be wholly effective, they must be conscious of all the social values of their time. This year, the Gano Dunn Award is awarded to Dr. Nina Tandon. To introduce Nina is Professor Toby Cumberbatch.
My name is Toby Cumberbatch. I taught electrical engineering at Cooper from 1994 to 2018. Watching your students change the world is one of the privileges of being a professor at Cooper. With our limited faculty, Nina Tandon had little option but to spend 3 hours a week with me over 4 semesters. Luckily, she was a stellar student, just like her elder sister and younger brother, both Cooper alumni. 2 memories. 25 years ago, in an integrated circuit engineering class, Nina and her partner produced the best ever layout for an A to D converter. A year later, her group invented Ubi for their senior project, an electronic pen that used patterned paper to write on a screen. One day, she excitedly said, "Hey, Professor, look, it's working." "Interesting, but too slow to be useful," was my reply. Nina glared at me, but next week the latency had gone. After teaching for a few years, you begin to understand the immensity of those 3 hours. Nina has gone from a BE to a Fulbright to a PhD to a TED Fellow to an adjunct professor to the co-founder of EpiBone, a pioneer in regenerative medicine. She's also a keynote speaker at some of the world's most prestigious conferences, including the World Economic Forum in Davos. I wasn't invited, so I checked out another conference. Listening to Nina would cost me $5,000. Not content to sit around, Nina is the mother of 2, runs marathons, is a yoga instructor, got an MBA, writes books, chapters, and papers, speaks several languages, and has won many prestigious awards. You never know when you're standing next to a superstar. Nina is now a household name in many circles. Modest to a fault, an incredible ambassador for the spirit of Cooper. I'm very honored to introduce Dr. Nina Marie Tandon, a Renaissance engineer, recipient of this year's Gano Dunn Award. Let us celebrate an alumnus whose imagination, tenacity, and success will inspire others to follow and have giant footsteps. Congratulations, Nina. Thank you.
I learned that Gano Dunn was one of the first people ever in the United States to get an electrical engineering degree. I think it really speaks to how quickly fields change. I'm NEE. I didn't know I was going to be an engineer growing up. I guess you guys already saw my slides, so. But I did like math and science. I liked science. That was my first chemistry set. I was so excited. I also was that kid that took the bobby pin and stuck it into the wall and got a shock. And I think I was more the what do you call it? The instant gratification and also terror of experiencing such a force at such an age was definitely something that I felt. But I also really loved drama, and this is me as in The Wizard of Oz. This is me in the community theater in Roosevelt Island, where I grew up and now live. I was a bit torn. I didn't know if I wanted to be a science person or, something else. But I was from a bit of a geeky family, and I was only half Asian, but it was enough for us to be told that we could be anything we wanted when we grew up, as long as it was an engineer. preferably chemical engineering. 3 of us, as Toby already mentioned, did come to Cooper. So I am Tandon 2 at cooper.edu. And the only one who didn't is my younger sister, Mira, who went to a different CU. She went to Cornell, but all 4 of us engineers. So I was torn in undergrad between art and engineering and enrolled in classes in both. This is the layout Toby mentioned. I felt like just because it was a circuit didn't mean it couldn't be beautiful. I enrolled in art classes, well, in shop techniques and photography, and St. Mark's Place was my muse. I also liked using circuits to make art. This is a theremin. It's a musical instrument you play without touching it. There's an antenna for pitch and an antenna for volume, and our own body's bioelectrical energy interferes with this circuit to make music that sounds like a violin from a 1950s horror movie. It's amazing. And my senior year was one, and by the way, that was in a study abroad in London. Cooper was so great that they sponsored us to even go abroad for a semester. And my senior year was one of many culminations. I think for me, doing senior design, I'd overloaded on classes. I think I had the record for the number of classes taken in a semester. I was a bit of a time stuffer. But by the time my senior year came around, I really wanted to focus on senior design, and I did. And I also won a Menschel Fellowship to do a solo show alongside the artists. And it was a really wonderful experience to try and chew on some of these questions that were really of the time, of the zeitgeist then, Y2K stuff, globalization. This was when Madonna started doing yoga, and it was a lot of, it was like globalization 1.0. This was when it was Napster that was making us think about the future of IP. Right, and I was really interested in vision, computer vision, partly because my brother was going blind, and so I was interested in how we saw the technology of the body. That was why the theremin, I think, was something I wanted to do. And as Toby mentioned, we won that senior design competition for the IEEE that year in 2001. This is me with my senior design partners. When we look at this picture, we say, "That's when I had hair." So Toby, was an amazing professor. I had him for many classes, and he also taught my sister and me and my brother. So when we graduated, he came to our house, okay? So Toby's very important to me. When he, if you ask me what's the one book I remember from undergrad, it's this book, Small is Beautiful, which he assigned to us to make sure that we were going to be engineers that didn't make the mistake of falling into the trap of thinking that the best way to solve the gap between our desires as humans and what we had was to close that gap with consumption and production, and that's misguided, and that we should therefore strive for something a little bit different, something more like Buddhist economics, to close the gap in the other way by examining why we had this cult of productivity, and that if we didn't do so, we were going to harm ourselves and the planet. And while I agree with that premise, and I think I followed that path, I was much more interested in kind of the metaphysics of that question. What is the biology of desire? What makes us want things? What makes us feel things? What makes us feel anything? What makes us who we are? And I know that that question is something that many people, poets and engineers alike, think about. But for me, it took an engineering approach. The biology of the senses, the biology of the technology of our bodies interacting with the technology we build with our hands. So I went to MIT. I remember thinking, we're going to solve blindness. We're going to solve my brother's blindness. That's not what happened. Brain-computer interfaces are probably not the best way to solve for a single base pair deletion in the rhodopsin gene, which is what my brother had. So after a crisis of confidence, ended up in the lab of Bob Langer, where if you haven't heard his name, not a household name, more companies have spun out of his lab than any other in the world by a factor of about 10. What I was interested in doing was trying to figure out how do our cells, when we all started out life as one cell big, how do those cells turn into who we are? How do heart cells grow? I was interested in electrical signals. in wound healing, embryonic development, and everyday life, our thoughts, our breath, our heartbeats. Learned a lot about how to mimic the big, long story short, the best way to get heart tissue to grow was to mimic their natural conditions for tissue development, okay? So the cells really do all the work. And when I emerged from my PhD kind of in a delusion of grandeur, manic, excitement, and said, Toby, I gotta share, the kind of, what do you call it, the zealousness of the zealot who has just been converted, okay? I felt like I'd just been converted to bioelectricity and I had to share. And at the, ripe old childish age of 27, Toby said, within 24 hours, answered that crazy email and said, sure, sounds like a great idea, let's come up with a syllabus. So bioelectricity he took a risk on me then and said, sure, come into the EE department. I think I might have been the first female lecturer. Eleanor Baum probably predated me there, but I think, it was really a big deal. It was such a wonderful opportunity. Collapsing everything, I know I'm out of time, but just to say, in the class that we taught bioelectricity, the one thing I remember, the last image in the book was this, because small is beautiful. What really matters, if we're doing things right, for whatever the technology is medically, it's if we can eat, sleep, be independent. Those are the things that matter. Small is beautiful, technology aside. During my PhD, also realized a lot of these principles for getting cells to do things could be used for anything from textiles to art. What I do at EpiBone is we apply these techniques to growing skeletal replacements to make a one-stop body shop for human replacement parts. We start with CT scans so that we can extract 3D data, make perfect puzzle piece-shaped biomaterial scaffolds, perfect puzzle piece-shaped robotic systems called bioreactors that mimic these natural conditions for tissue development. In this environment of diet and exercise, the cells attach, proliferate, differentiate, turn it into bone and cartilage. And it takes us 2 to 4 weeks to make bones, joints, or cartilage. We have a platform technology. We've brought our first bone through phase 1-2 clinical trials. We have completed also approval for doing a partial knee replacement as well through FDA. So this is what we do at our company, EpiBone. Small is beautiful. During all of this time, and it's been $50 million in 10 years so far, 20 years if you count when I started as a student, life also happened. Had the chance to marry this wonderful man. By the way, I just did want to show you that that's like a cell image on my wedding dress. We had 3D printed flowers. Anything, how you do anything is how you do everything, people. And also we have these 2 beautiful children who are being pretty loud in the front. We have so many challenges. This is a moment, getting a big award like this, it's a big deal. But I just want you to know it doesn't feel like a victory lap for me because I am in the thick of battle. I am trying to raise money. I'm always in a crisis. Our company is always months from running out of cash. Always. Today is no exception. My husband and I moved to the Middle East. Actually, we're based in Abu Dhabi now because we were trying to find places where the forces were anti-cyclical to what we're feeling here in the US, high interest rates, high inflation, a lot of regulatory uncertainty. So we're actually based in Abu Dhabi and I'm flying there tonight. So what I would say is, guys, small is beautiful. It's all about the journey. If small is beautiful, if the lesson that we were supposed to learn was in the negative, don't ignore humanity or else we're going to destroy the planet. I think for me, small is beautiful through my research and through my experience in life is really just about how consciousness and beauty is embodied in who we are, that, if we're ever feeling like helpless or ungrateful, there's a great way to close that divide between what we desire and what we have by just remembering that our heart is probably beat 20 times during that time we were taking to complain. So small is beautiful, small is who we are, and I just want to finish with a final thought from Toby, who dedicated this book to me years ago. I wish you a life full of excitement, good challenges, and the happiness of doing more with less. So thank you, Toby, for being my professor, being hard on me, but also taking a risk on me, and just being one of, a shining example of the kind of mentor, a student as precocious and weird as I always was. Just grateful. So thank you for this award, and thank you for being Cooper Union, and thank you, Toby. Thank you, and my family right here. Small is beautiful. You're very small, and you're amazing. I love you, kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. That was wonderful. I'm going to go home and tell my kids, small is beautiful. The Augustus Saint-Gaudens Award was established to honor professional achievement in art. Saint-Gaudens started his studies at Cooper Union at age 13. He went on to become one of the preeminent sculptors of his era. His work can be seen throughout New York City and the United States. The Saint-Gaudens recipient this year is Sidney Myers. And here is Don Blauweis to introduce.
I'm Don Blauweis, former president of the Cooper Union Alumni Association, former trustee at Cooper Union, and Cooper alum. Congratulations, my friend, Sidney. Sid and I met at the end of the 1950s at an advertising agency, Doyle Dane Bernbach. Doyle Dane was the agency where the creative revolution was born, putting copywriters and art directors together. That was novel at the time. Sid and I had something in common. We were both hired by Murray Jacobs. I found out later that, coincidentally, Murray was also a Cooper alum. Sid did numerous campaigns in television to win numerous awards. The campaigns and the awards are listed in your program. He was kind of a big brother to me at Doyle Dane. You know, he was a little bit ahead of me, and it was great to have somebody of his level of talent and experience that I could lean on to some extent. When Sid left the agency of Doyle Dane Bernbach, he opened his own film production company where he won more awards for his work on multitude of clients, working with luminaries like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, etc. And it was amazing how many campaigns won awards that Sid created. But the most iconic campaign was for LBJ in 1964. And the most iconic one of that series was called Daisy Girl. It was so famous that somebody wrote a book about it, and also a play was created called Daisy. You know, Sid created so many iconic campaigns or commercials. He had a kind of solution of how to do that. And he would say, create everything 5% off center. That was his solution to creating these wonderful, iconic campaigns. So 5% off center, that's the solution. So congratulations again, my friend Sidney, for being the honoree of Saint-Gaudens.
Congratulations, Sidney.
Thank you so much. You're very smart. What's that?
Did you want to put slides over?
This one?
Yes, exactly.
Nope. Go back.
And then just go back using.
Okay. I have so many people to thank for this prestigious award. I got to thank you to the Cooper Union Alumni Association and to Jennifer Durst, Maria Goudis, and Kelly Acuzio for their kindness and their help. And thanks to this wonderful institution, Cooper Union. For over a century and a half has graduated thousands of students who have made significant contributions to the beauty, richness, and the spirit of America. And I have had the privilege of working with 3 winners
of the Augustus Saint-Gaudens Award, Erwin Glusker at American Heritage Magazine, and Dick Lowe at Vogue Magazine, and a Cooper Union Hall of Fame recipient, Don Bleiweiss. I learned a lot from them. Being back at Cooper reminds me of the days where I worked 10 hours at a studio uptown, and then had to grab the subway to Cooper to be in time to be with those talented and mostly patient instructors who put up with me for 5 years and helped shape me to who I am today. And last, far from least, I want to thank my devoted wife, Bonnie, for believing in me and being a pillar of strength at my side. Now, I want to show you some of the stuff that I've done. When I was at the Old Dame Bernbeck, we were awarded the Israel Government Tourist Association. And we were told to go to Israel, the copywriter, myself, and this great photographer, Elliot Irwit, and come up with with ads for the Israel Government Tourist Office. So the first ad we came up with, we were down at the Dead Sea, and there was nobody. And the copywriter came up with this headline: "High tea at the Dead Sea," but we had no models. The models didn't show up. So the photographer said, "Well, you do it." I said, "Well, what do you mean I do it? I can't do it." He said, "Get in there." So I got in there. That's how I ended up having high tea on the Dead Sea. And it was not as nice as it seems. The Dead Sea is very salty, and my whole body was all burnt up. The next ad I did was for El Al Airlines, where we were showing that every Jewish mother talks about my son, the doctor, but this one talked about my son, the pilot. And this is Tilly Katz talking about her son, who was a pilot for El Al Airlines, the chief pilot for El Al Airlines. The next ad that I want to show you is an ad we did for the for the tourist office, and the headline that the copywriter came up with was, "We've been in the travel business a long time," and the illustration is Noah's Ark. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that is my comp drawing that we were going to show the client. And then we're going to get a real good artist to do this picture. And the client said, no, I love it, run it the way it is. So this is my a little not so great illustration, but it was a terrific ad. The next ad I'm going to show you is that Orbach's department store had only had women's clothing. They never sold men's clothing. They decided to open up a men's shop, and they wanted a poster done. We did a subway poster for Ab Orbach's, and this is at the time of the graffiti craze in the 60s. So I did this poster for Orbach's men's shop. This read in the subway, and I figure it's kind of cute. Then, in 1964, I was given the job of being in charge of the LBJ campaign, all the television commercials at the Old Dame Bernbeck. And we did 23 spots, I think, in 6 months. And these two are the two that I think were the best. And they're self-explanatory, and I'll show them to you now.
In a Saturday Evening Post article dated August 31st, 1963, Barry Goldwater said, "Sometimes I think this country would be better off if we could just saw off the eastern seaboard and let it float out to sea." Can a man who makes statements like this be expected to serve all the people justly and fairly? Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
Now, the next one that I'm going to show you has haunted me for 65 years. It's the Daisy commercial. And every 4 years I get called, CNN, ABC, or to be on the show and talk about what I would do in this situation with Trump against so-and-so and so-and-so. So this is the commercial that's changed political advertising for all times, I think.
One, two, three, four, five, seven, six, eight, nine.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other, or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
This commercial ran just once on Monday night at the movies, but the Republicans made such a big brouhaha about it that it ran on every news program for the entire week. So 100 million people saw this spot, where only 10 million people saw it on Monday night. And as you notice, it never mentions Goldwater's name in it. It's just a statement of policy. And that is it. Okay. I thank everybody so much for this award, and I really deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Sid, again. The John Q. Hejduk Award is given for the contribution to the theory, teaching, and/or practice of architecture. His passion for architecture and teaching inspired generations of students and transformed architectural education. As a result, many great designs of the past 50 years bear his influence. The John Q. Hejduk Award goes to John Lynn. Introducing John today is a colleague, Dean Simpson.
My name is Dean Simpson. It's an honor to be invited to introduce John Lynn this evening. John's an inspiring colleague, but also a close and dear friend. We met in the year 2000 when I was an architect at Diller and Scofidio, and we needed a model of the Blur building. This triggered an episode beginning with Rick Scofidio talking about a super talented student at Cooper, and ending with a very nice model, but John suffering from a mild form of resin poisoning, which luckily he recovered from. In discussing John's professional contributions, we could talk about three threads that he offers in that discussion. The first thread is that while most of our field's preoccupations lie in cities, John's work looks to urbanization processes in rural China as a meaningful setting to contribute to. The second thread is where John's work explores the intersection between academy and practice, with the crafting of projects together with the community and students. And perhaps a third thread where John's fascination with Rudovsky's architecture without architects drives the situated character of the vernacular and the everyday in his work. John's contributions cannot be seen independently from his biography and his personality. His unique biography spans Taiwan, where he was born, New York, where he immigrated as a 6-year-old and lived and studied at Cooper, Copenhagen, where he taught, and Hong Kong, where he's now a professor with a practice working in China. That makes John, firstly, the only Taiwanese American, New York, European Hong Konger that I know, and secondly, one of the people with the greatest abundance of energy, playfulness, curiosity, optimism, and humor that I have ever met. John's a force of nature who drinks life in giant gulps, living sometimes, I think, 3 lives for the one that each of us are living. It comes as no surprise then that at Cooper, John studied in the art program, the engineering program, and the architecture program. About a year ago, I was fortunate to travel in rural China with John and some others and saw him in dialogue with shepherds, taxi drivers, mayors, and grandmothers, singing songs and discussing what role architecture might play in these remarkable places, full of life, traditions, and emerging challenges and oppressions of today. Congratulations, John, on this thoroughly deserved award.
The stairs. Congratulations.
Wow, it's such an honor. Not as much the award as this room full of people. I have colleagues, friends, but most of all, I think the biggest privilege is to have teachers throughout your whole life. And here I have a room full of teachers. Actually, and the most important, neither of those pictures is me. But this one is my mother, who's here today. So for those of you who know me, now you get it. And I just want to say, all the incredible teachers I've had at Cooper, Suga Sao, who's in drawing class, I did probably, one of the most precious works, and the one thing that I kept at Cooper. Graham Shane, who gave me this incredible freedom, whether to write a super long paper or just to make a film, and which I did, and now I'm finishing my first documentary film. Guido Zuliani, who actually I count as a dear friend, despite the fact that he tried to fail me in year 2, which he forgot about, while he was telling me a story of trying to fail some Columbia students. But now we're friends. And even Jesse and Nanako, who came to Hong Kong, and I had to work with them, and I said, do you need anything? They said, no, nothing. Well, maybe like 2,000 empty egg crates and 1,000 shuttlecocks, if you can manage it. And ironically, Hong Kong is the only place that you can actually manage that. So I have a video. But as you know, I did go to all 3 schools, and there were many other teachers. So you can ignore me, watch the video. I have to say, Stephen Hillier and Monica Shapiro, you count as people I really learned a lot from later on when I actually had to confront the real world. I remember coming to the art school, and at the time I was accepted at Yale to do pre-medical studies. But, the difference between like New York City and Connecticut, well, it was just like no contest. So I came to New York to be an art student, and there was an entire class of all these people who probably came from, their high schools, small towns, weirdos, creatives, and we came into the art school, and it was super rigorous. It was 2D design, 3D design, color theory. It was like a boot camp. I remember Hans Hacke, and you would come, and he just said, make a cardboard cube, 40 cm, about 40 cm. And everyone would come with their cardboard cubes, and he'd be like, 9, and then you had to do it again until you figured out that it had structure and it had the grain and everything. And then so finally I thought, okay, I'm gonna pursue my pre-medical studies, but I don't want to leave Cooper Union or New York. So I reapplied and went to the engineering school. And in engineering, I remember I had Professor Wolf, the Wolf of Wall Street. We have the Wolf of Astor Place. This was amazing. I remember going through the entire proof of Einstein's theory in one afternoon. And I was amazed at the incredible leaps of intuition and creativity that he was making. And later on, I found out that Einstein, when he was 16, he was sent to boarding school in Switzerland. And you probably know this, but there was a headmaster who had, developed a method for visualizing problems. And so he had somehow, I think, an influential teacher. And of course, as you know, being the first sort of theoretical physicist, he imagined and visualized reality before proving it. And by the time I finished engineering, I had only 2 credits left. And I really didn't want to leave Cooper Union. I loved it so much. So then I had taken an architectonics class with Raymond Abraham. And he didn't show any buildings because I never wanted to be an architect, to tell you the truth. But I found out later that building as a kind of activity, as something that you do together, you can't do alone, has become a great passion and interest, not the buildings themselves. So in any case, they managed to get me into the architecture school. And I remember going down, I think at like 9 a.m. on Monday mornings to the Anthology Film Archives, where Jonas Mekas would show films. This was an education. Even if you had to watch Andy Warhol's like Empire State, it's just like 3 hours of just the Empire State Building. It was still a great way to recover from a hangover. It was an amazing education. There are many, many other stories, but for me, the Cooper Union really represents all 3 schools. It's a kind of creative ethos combined, and that's how I understand it. The one thing I appreciate about architecture is that it is a fundamentally political act, and it has shown time and time again its ability to transcend politics while being political. Wow, I spoke really fast. I thought this was going to be very fast. So I think the world needs more graduates from the Cooper Union. This incredible civic ideal, the social contract that I think all 3 schools represent. And yes, I owe you probably 3 times what other alumni owe, but I'm working very hard to pay you back. So thank you. Just watch the rest of the video. Yeah. So my mother was one of 2 women in the School of Engineering where she went. And that was a really tough act to follow, both Sid and Nina. So. But I think you guys should try architecture. We can discuss it later. But I feel really honored to be in this room tonight. I even had colleagues from engineering who said hello. I had kind of forgotten, They wipe your memory when you go to architecture like this, so I'm sorry I didn't remember you. Great, thanks.
Thank you, John. Congratulations again. The Peter Cooper Public Service Award was established in 2014, and it is given for exemplary service to society and the furtherance of humanitarian causes, ideals that Peter Cooper embraced. The Peter Cooper Public Service Award is presented to Mike Wallace tonight, with an introduction by his colleague, Amanda Rogers.
My name is Amanda Rogers. I'm the Deputy Chief Engineer at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. I'm so honored to introduce Mike Wallace as the Peter Cooper Public Service Award recipient. I can think of no other public servant that is more deserving than Mike. Mike has over 30 years of experience working for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. For those of you that are not familiar with the Port Authority, we own and operate 5 airports, 4 bridges, 2 tunnels, the second busiest port in the country, the PATH commuter rail system, 2 bus stations, and the World Trade Center campus. Over Mike's 30-year career, he has contributed and delivered major work at every single Port Authority facility. There are not many people in the public sector that has that kind of vast experience and influence. Mike is truly one of a kind. Mike was always most focused on his staff. He was an excellent mentor and worked endlessly to make sure that his staff was his top priority. When COVID hit, and most of the world went into lockdown, Mike and I knew this was going to be one of the biggest challenges for morale that we would face. Both the governor of New York and New Jersey deemed construction projects essential, and we were directed to continue building full steam ahead. Mike, as an executive, was granted permission and encouraged to work remotely full-time. Now, anyone that knows Mike knows that that was just not going to cut it for him. Not only did he not work remotely, he made it a point to be out at every field office, at every facility, every single week. He searched to the end of the internet and was able to find masks, Purell, and even toilet paper when no one else could. Not only was he able to find it, he had it delivered directly to his house and then hand-delivered the essential supplies to every single office, all for his staff. The look on the staff's face when their chief of construction showed up to deliver the necessary supplies and make sure the offices had what they needed to continue with their mission was something I will never forget. Mike is the definition of a leader. He's a true problem solver, someone who would literally roll up his sleeves and do the work right along with his staff, colleagues, and contractors. Mike is not only a colleague and was my boss, he's a great mentor and most importantly, my friend. So I'm very happy to introduce Mike Wallace, this year's Peter Cooper Public Service Award recipient. Congratulations, Mike.
If I did what John did, I would have belly flopped.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you. I don't think I have to say anything after an introduction like that by Amanda, who I wish was here tonight, but unfortunately she got called away for an emergency. So, thank you first to the Cooper Alumni Association for this honor. You know, as I thought about what to say, it occurred to me that the 2 major influences in my life and my career as an engineer have been around for more than a century. Cooper Union, founded all the way back in 1859, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey that was founded in 1921. You know, the Cooper Union School for the Advancement of Science and Art, here's where I learned the principles of engineering from great professors like Dr. Jamil Ahmad, the chair of civil engineering, and my master's thesis advisor, mentor, and geotech professor, Dr. Vito Guido, whose name we never get to say enough. God rest his soul. We lost Dr. Guido in 2022, but he pushed me really hard, and I owe a lot of who I am today to both Dr. Ahmad and Dr. Guido and people like him. You know, I took those engineering principles, that great foundation that those professors instilled in me, and I applied them to everything I did at the Port Authority in New York and New Jersey. I started as a summer intern with the Port Authority in their materials engineering unit. It was here that my love for construction and public work started. The PA's motto is keep the region moving, and you don't understand the significance of what that means and what that entails until you work on major projects that affect the traveling public. And I have a few of them here to show you. So the first one, here's the George Washington Bridge. George Washington Bridge opened in 1931. It's nearing 100 years old itself. Port Authority embarked on a major program years ago called Restoring the George. And why is that? Because 300,000 cars a day traverse over the George Washington Bridge. 100 million cars a year. Without the George Washington Bridge, the surrounding areas wouldn't exist. So Restore the George had some major structural components to it. It has 592 suspender ropes. That number's burned in my memory. And you know, when I used to go around and talk about the project, people used to ask me, how do you change a suspender rope? And my answer was always the same, very carefully. So these are just, in fact, that bottom right-hand corner picture was the final rope going up on the north side of the bridge before switching over to the south side. This is the picture of the Bayonne Bridge, also opened in 1931, also nearing 100 years old. So years ago, the Port Authority had this great idea. Well, they had to do something with the Bayonne Bridge. For anybody that knows, with the deepening of the Panama Canal, bigger ships were coming, more containers, and those are necessary for the economics of the region. So the Port Authority had two choices: rip down the bridge or raise it. And why pick the easy choice? So they raised the bridge. This bridge was raised for the economic stability of the region. It increased the amount of cargo going to the ports of New Jersey by 40 to 50%, and guaranteed the economic stability of this region. So, you know, these projects, until you start to understand them, you don't really understand how deeply they impact the region. Terminal A, Newark Airport. The picture on the left is new Terminal a state-of-the-art, million-square-foot facility that was opened in 2023, replacing the original terminal that opened in 1973. The original terminal could handle about 8,000 passengers a year. This terminal can handle double that, with the ability to expand it because everybody knows the airline industry is ever increasing. Everybody flies in this day and age, and the original airports as they were built can't handle the loads for this day and age. Some of these pictures, this is some pictures are JFK redevelopment on the upper right side. On the lower right is a JFK runway job. JFK has 4 runways, and taking any of them out of service greatly affects people's flights. And anybody who's worked at any of our airports know the thing you don't do is to stop people from going on vacation, especially with young ones. They're not fun when they miss their flights, right? The other pictures are of the Harrison Station, and that just reminds me of Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy. During my career in the Port Authority, I unfortunately saw a lot of tragedies. We had the 93 bombing. We had 9/11. We had Superstorm Sandy. And Amanda even talked about we even had COVID. But what I was proud of most is the way that everybody in the industry, not just the Port Authority employees, but everybody teamed together. I could pick up the phone and call a contractor and say, look, we have a problem, we need your help. And they don't ask, how are we going to get paid? They just ask, how many people do you need and how quick do you need us to get there? That's what this industry means to me. And this is, you know, this has been a great career. So now, if you notice the theme in my pictures, there was always people there, right? Because that's what, as Amanda said, that's what I love to do. I love to mentor. I look through the crowd now. I see a bunch of people that have worked for me. I hired some of them, mentored them, and now they're in leadership roles at the Port Authority. When I decided to retire from the Port Authority last year, I wasn't worried about the state of the Port Authority because of the people I mentored and left behind there. You know, before I retired, I attended this workshop, and the icebreaker question was, looking back at your career, what is your legacy? The answer popped into my head almost immediately. My staff at the Port Authority is my legacy. I had the privilege of hiring most of the staff in the construction management division that I ran right out of college and mentoring them and watching them grow. To add to this theme of legacy, all the people I am sharing the stage with today, all the people that have been fortunate enough to attend and graduate from Cooper Union, we are Peter Cooper's legacy. and I think it's our job to continue the great tradition he started. I saw this quote from Peter Cooper. He said, "I have endeavored to remember that the object of life is to do good." I'm a huge advocate of mentoring. My success comes from the mentors I have had in my career, both at the Port Authority and here at Cooper Union. And my greatest satisfaction comes from seeing the success of people I mentored. I urge all of you to pay it forward, all that you have received from Cooper Union, and mentor our future. Finally, and I had to put this slide in because I always forget to thank certain people, a few thank yous. First one, Peter Cooper. Thank you for having the vision that has lasted for more than 160 years. My family, my wife Marie, who without none of this is possible, as my support, my greatest critic when I need it, and my greatest fan when I need that extra push to do good. My son, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, and he is my constant and never-changing mentoring project. And my father, and a quick little story about my father. So when I was in high school, my father sat me down and my father said to me, "Look, I got 4 kids, you got really good grades, go get a scholarship. That's the only way you're going to college." And I did, and the rest is history, but that little push from my father made all the difference in the world. Also, I'd like to thank my colleagues and friends. My friends at the Port Authority, who I worked with for 34 years, many of whom are in the audience tonight. My new colleagues at Lero, who I joined a little over a year ago and helped to continue to allow me to do public work for a lot of the clients we work with. And in fact, some of the other people I work with at Lero had careers in public works also. So, you know, a lot of us, it's just in our blood. We don't know how to do anything else. And last but not least, Kelly Smolar, you're hiding out there somewhere. Thank you for nominating me for this. You know, Kelly started with me as a trainee, and since then went out and embarked and started her own company. I'm very proud of her, and I'm happy to be able to work with her. Thank you.
Tonight, the Cooper Union Alumni Association honors a truly dedicated individual with the Alumnus of the Year Award. We honor him for his years of support, commitment, and contributions to the Alumni Association and to the Cooper Union. Doug Sharrott is our 2025 Alumnus of the Year, and to introduce him is our own CUAA President, Ron Vogel.
I'm Ron Vogel, the president of the Cooper Union Alumni Association, and I have the great pleasure today of introducing the 2024 Alumnus of the Year, my friend, Doug Sharrott. Doug studied electrical engineering here in the 80s at the dawn of the computer era. That alone makes him a genius in my book. But Doug has worn many hats in his life after Cooper Union: engineer, programmer, patent lawyer, and mentor. And while each of these deserves recognition, I'm going to talk about the hat he has worn for over a decade here at the CUAA, our resident wizard. And by wizard, I mean the good and generous kind of wizard. Over the last 10 years, Doug has helped rewrite the CUAA Constitution and led our transition to a 501c3 corporation. He almost single-handedly dragged us into the 21st century by modernizing our election process. At meetings, when we're faced with a question or a tough challenge, we often say, "Just ask Doug," for we know that he'll give his time and energy to most anything we ask. Most importantly, Doug does all of this with a smile and a spirit of generosity. In my experience, when you work with Doug, you always learn something. Peter Cooper said that success is not measured by wealth or power, but by the positive impact you have on others. Peter Cooper would be proud of you, Doug. Congratulations.
Doug? Congratulations and thank you for all you do to CUAA.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I usually use this room. We do the Meet the Candidate night for the elections here. So it's not my first time in front of this room, but it's really filled up tonight. And again, with this weather, thank you for attending. Ron, thank you for the wonderful introduction, and thank you, Kelly, for organizing this great event. I'm honored to be the recipient of the Alumnus of the Year Award. First, I wish to recognize my family, including my son Richard and daughter-in-law Anessa, who are attending tonight. My wife Karen unfortunately could not attend with me tonight, but she is home in Orlando where it's 80 degrees and there is no snow. So who's the smart one? I have served the alumni for many years in various capacities. As Ron mentioned, Constitution Committee, the elections, 501c3 nominating committee, and I've always done it. I enjoy doing it. I got drafted into each one of these roles, and I smiled and did the work. To Ron, to Robert Tan, Mary Lynch, Anna Brooke, and my fellow council members, I greatly appreciate your support and encouragement through the years. I'm fortunate to be a member of the class of 1983, which includes past Alumnus of the Year, Jim Lubasich, our treasurer, Bernie Codd, our class representative, Barry Drogan, and council members Harry Donas and David Ellison, who serve on me on committees with me. I'm grateful for our 45 years of friendship. I have only a few moments to make some remarks. So I want to talk about our young alumni, the future of our association. I ran the 2023 and 2024 spring elections, and you learn a lot by running the elections. In 2023, only 19% of the voters graduated in or after the year 2000, our young alumni. I was a bit concerned with the low turnout, the low participation of the young alumni. Fortunately, last year, this turned around. The participation of our young alumni rose to 34%, and the 2000s had the most voters of any decade, with over 19% of the total alumni vote. It's imperative, in my view, that the association strive to include and listen to our young alumni. They are, after all, our future. And I believe we should make every effort to allow them to lead this association, essentially pass the torch, and while doing this, passing down our collective wisdom to them. And in this regard, I'm very proud to be followed tonight by our young alumnus of the year, Shiori Sasaki. I've had many chances to work with Shiori. He's just terrific. So I think we have a great future, CUAA, and thank you once again.
Doug, on behalf of the CUAA, I want to thank you for all that you have done. The Young Alumnus of the Year was established in 2003 to recognize recent alumni who have provided exemplary volunteerism and public service to the Cooper Union Alumni Association. Tonight, we honor Shiori Sasaki with this award. Eduardo Alfonso will introduce his classmate and former roommate, Shiori.
It's an absolute pleasure to present the Young Alumni of the Year award to Shiori Sasaki, someone who truly embodies openness, creativity, and a remarkable ability to connect with people. I'm Eduardo Alfonso, a fellow graduate of the architecture class of 2014, and I had the privilege of not only being Shiori's classmate, but also his roommate. Witnessing Shiori's journey has been nothing short of inspiring. He has a way of bridging gaps between ideas and industries with thoughtfulness and innovation. What truly sets Shiori apart is his ability to connect with architects, artists, and engineers, the three pillars of our alumni coalition, with genuine curiosity and care. He doesn't just build networks, he builds meaningful friendships. Shiori counts graduates from all three schools among his closest friends, a testament to his natural ability to bring people together. He values each person's unique qualities and contributions, appreciating the diverse types of intelligence and effort that make collaboration so powerful. Shiori has a way of making everyone feel heard, valued, and inspired. Shiori's journey has been all about staying flexible, embracing challenges, and turning them into opportunities to create something meaningful. It's that mix of openness, creativity, and comradeship that we're celebrating tonight. We're incredibly lucky to have Shiori as a CUAA council member since 2022, and his contributions have been invaluable. So Shiori, congratulations, and thank you for everything you do.
Shiori couldn't be here tonight, but accepting the award on his behalf is his former roommate and friend, Eduardo. I don't have his video. It's not there, right? It's.
Oh, it's immediately after.
Oh, it's right after yours? Okay. Sorry.
Oh, hopefully we don't have to listen to mine all the way again.
Thank you to the Cooper Union Alumni Association for this incredible honor. I'm deeply humbled to be recognized by a community that has shaped my life. My time as an architecture student wasn't without challenges. I even took a year off and considered transferring after failing a studio course. But I realized that returning to Cooper was about more than completing my education. It was about seizing the opportunity to grow within a unique and transformative institution. Cooper's small size creates a collective sense of purpose. It brings together diverse voices to solve problems and build a better future. Supporting the Alumni Association has been my way of giving back, helping sustain this institution so future generations can experience the same opportunities to learn and create meaningful change. Cooper Union is more than just a collection of 3 schools. It's a unique ecosystem where art, architecture, and engineering intersect. While formal collaboration between the schools may not always be readily apparent, I believe Peter Cooper envisioned a community where students from different disciplines could learn from each other and contribute to a shared understanding of the world. I believe that fostering greater interdisciplinary collaboration remains a vital goal for the Cooper Union community. More than ever, we need institutions like Cooper Union to cultivate leaders who can both imagine and shape a better, more equitable world. I'm proud to play a small role in sustaining that mission. Thank you for this honor and for being part of this special community.
Congratulations, Shiori, and congratulations to all our awardees. Please let us continue the celebration outside in the Gelmer foyer. Thank you for supporting our wonderful alumni and the Cooper Union. One more thing, I'd like to wish happy birthday again to Peter Cooper. Without you, we wouldn't be here.